How's it going, everybody? Welcome to another installment of the Pug's Thoughts in the Doghouse. I'm Pug, and I am cheering on my Central Washington University men's basketball team as we head into the Division II, the NCAA Division II March Madness tournament. We've won our conference. It's now time to congratulate them one more time for winning the conference regular season and our conference tournament. And now let's focus on our first tournament game, which is against the Seattle Pacific University Falcons. Now, I'm nervous heading into this game, not just because of Seattle Pacific, but because of this. If you remember my first Central video I did a couple weeks ago, I said Central has a tendency to be a great regular season team, but choke in the first round of the playoffs. This is the fourth year in a row we have made the NCAA Division II March Madness tournament. We have yet to win a tournament game. It started in 2008 when we lost to Seattle Pacific in the first round. We had a fourth or fifth seed at that time. The game was in Anchorage, Alaska. The next one was, I forgot where the city was, but it was in the state of Hawaii, and this was in 2009. And we lost to the Cal State Dominguez Hills Toros. Then last year, we snuck into the playoffs. We got the 8th seed, and we fell to our arch rival, Western Washington University Vikings, in Bellingham. So we lost on Western's turf last year. So if Central doesn't win, it's going to be a huge downfall. We need to win one game, because if it's not, it's going to be a huge disappointment. This game is in our house. We don't have to travel. We're the #1 seed. We're gonna host this. We're gonna host the entire tournament. So if Central loses, hypothetically speaking, in the second game, we will still host the West Regional Championship game before the Elite Eight. And statistically, and based on what this team has accomplished this year compared to the last 3 years, this team is better than the other teams that have made the playoffs. So we need to win at least one game. We need to win at least one game. No upsets. The 8th seed Seattle Pacific University Falcons cannot upset us, because it's going to be a huge disappointment if we lose. Now, that being said, I'm nervous. The second reason why I'm nervous about this game is Seattle Pacific and Central Washington recently have a history with each other in the NCAA tournament. They have met twice since 2006, and Seattle Pacific has come up on top. In 2006, Central, I believe this was 2006, pretty sure it was, but in 2006, Central Washington made this tournament as an 8th seed, and Seattle Pacific was the #1 seed. Therefore, Seattle Pacific hosted the game, and Central lost in Seattle. In 2008, Central, as I said before, we lost to SPU in a game in Anchorage, Alaska. And SPU won this game on the last second shot. I think it went into overtime, but I'm not 100% sure. And this bothers me because this came after Central swept the season series against SPU. Central swept the season series against SPU this year. So I'm going ahead and wiping out those victories, because as much as I enjoyed those wins, we got to face them again. It's very hard to take down a conference opponent 3 times, which is why I am happy that we're not playing Alaska Anchorage, and Alaska Anchorage is on the other side of this bracket. To review the season series, the first game against the two schools was in Seattle, and it was in January. Central won by the score of 72-68, so only a 4-point win, but we did lead from coast to coast, so that was cool. Seattle Pacific was led by Ryan Sweet, 15 points. Andy Pauling had 14 points, and David Downs had 14, and his brother Jeff Downs had 11. Andy Pauling, I hope I'm saying that correctly, had 5 rebounds. Central was led by Jamar Berry with 15 points. Jody Johnson joined him with 15 points. Chris Sprinker had 12 points, and Drew Harris had 11. Jody Johnson led the Wildcats with 7 rebounds. In the second game, which took place in February in Ellensburg, Washington, this game is actually on television. It was on Fox Sports Northwest, and it was the first time Central was on television this year. And the Wildcats won 63-53. So it was a little easy, much easier game for the Wildcats. SPU was led by Ryan Sweet with 15 points, Andy Poling 11 points, and Jeff Downs had 10 points. Andy Poling had 7 rebounds for the Falcons. For Central, they were led by Jamar Berry, who had 14 points. Humberto Perez had 13 points. Jody Johnson, 12 points. Drew Harris had 10. And Robbie Clyde had 5 rebounds to lead Central. Keys to this game, based on what the Wildcats did in the previous 2 games this year against SPU, they got to spread the ball around. It's got to be a team effort. Yes, it will be great if somebody does go off and score a bajillion points for the Wildcats. But I did see these 2 games, and Central did do a very good job passing the ball around and giving opportunities to all their scorers. And we need to capitalize on it. And then finally, we can't let SPU hang around. Right now, we're playing really good basketball. We're having a little bit of trouble in the first 5 minutes, but then once we settle down, that's the key thing in our tournament games. We were able to settle down, and we were able to take control of the game when we settled down. And when I say settle down, I mean we hit shots, we played hard defense, we hustled, we stole the ball, out-rebounded our opponents. So that's what we need to do. We need to keep playing the same way we did against in the conference tournament. We will win this game. So, the game will take place on Friday, March 11th. I believe the tip-off is at 8 p.m. I will recap the game, and hopefully I'll be previewing another game as the Wildcats continue to play in their 2010-2011 campaign. So, go Wildcats, take down those Falcons. I'm definitely going to be watching the game online. Thanks for watching, and please follow me on Facebook, Myspace, and Twitter. The links are below. Go Cats!